The information does not lie in the property of the pulse, but it lies in the presence or absence of the pulse. Thus, even if the noise distorts the pulse, it makes no difference so long as the decision regarding the presence or absence of it is correct. Now, I will explain you what that means. So, with respect to it, if we look, what do you mean by presence or absence of the pulse? Suppose I want to send these pulses. Suppose I want to send these pulses, which is your so suppose I want to send these pulses, which is your okay, and this is basically your x, then y and z, and this is your one, and then there's a guard time with a 0 here and a 1. Okay, and this indicates the level 1 and this indicates the level 0, obviously. Okay, so now if you want to send the information in this way, so now if the receiver receive the information in this way, let's say receiver receive the information in this way, that receiver is receiving the information, this is your level of 1, and then we introduce a threshold level here. So this is your 1, this is 0, and this is your threshold level. Okay, so threshold level is there. Let me make this threshold level, and then we receive the information in a way that it's like this. Okay, so if the level of pulse is above the threshold level, which is here, then we consider it as 1. If it's below the threshold level, whether it's even close to the threshold level, we will consider it as 0. And if again here it's close to the above the threshold level, whether it's just lying like this, then we consider it as 1. Okay, so in this way we consider the presence and absence of the signal at the receiver and the transmitter. Okay, now further, in this case we will say that we received the information received without error. Now what can be the possibility if you are receiving something with error? So what is the possibility is that the signal is like this, and you are receiving again, there's a 1 and 0, and then there's a threshold level here, and what you are receiving is that you are receiving like this. So basically, looking at the threshold level, this is your threshold level. You can directly know that this is received with error, so this is received with error, and this is also received with error, and this is falling below the threshold level, and this is above the threshold level. So we will detect it as basically 0 and 1 and 1. So the Z is received without error, Y is received with error, and X is received with error. So this is basically the effect of noise on them. and it leads to them in this form. Okay, now looking at the basically your PCM system. So PCM system. When we are saying system, we are talking about a transmitter and a receiver part of it. So if we look at it, so we have a this is sampler, this is your quantizer, and this is encoder. Okay, so basically what we are doing is that whatever the information or the signal we are receiving, will receive it from here. The sampler with sample the signals, it will generate them maybe 3.7, 1.1, 2.9. It's sampling, it's just doing the sample, it's just collecting the number of samples. And quantizer then maybe make them quantize in the form of, let's say, 4, 1 or 3. Okay, and after encoder, or the encoder will basically do or them change into the form of a combination of, let's say, for 4 it is 110, for 3 1 it will be 001, 3 it will be 011. So encoder will change them into the pulses. If you want to show them with the help of pulses, it will be something like this. Then it is 4, then you have this is 0. Why it's taking always like this? Encoder, one zero 001 for this form. Okay, so this is basically your complete transmitter block. Then you will have a receiver. So what the receiver will have, the first block as a quantizer. We name it quantizer, but it's basically doing a dequantization. And the dequantization which it performs is basically, what it does is that different from the transmitter quantizer, because it has to take a decision for the presence or absence of the pulse. Thus there are only two quantization levels, 1 and 0 basically. So it will just take the look at the presence and absence of the pulse. So what it will do is that the information will come to it quantizer, and it's basically coming like this, let's say. So it will just look at the presence or absence of the pulse. Then the information will go to the decoder, and then you will have a holding circuit. I assume that you know it. If you don't know, please let me know, I will explain you that also. Holding circuit, and then there will be a low pass filter which will pass only the signals which are of low frequency. So a decoder, for the decoder, information will come in the form of, let's say, 110, 001 and 011, and it will change it to the quantization levels like this. Let's say 4, okay, 4, then your 1, and then your 3. It will work like that. Okay, and then holding circuit will hold it like this, and it will hold the circuit for a particular time instant. So the levels will be 4, your 1, and your 3. Okay, and then after passing through the low pass filter, you will receive the signal in the form in which you send it. Okay, so this is all your receiver side. You have to say it that way. Now what is the bandwidth of the your PCM system? So bandwidth of the PCM system. So bandwidth of the so if you have to look at the bandwidth of the PCM system, we have to assume certain things with respect to it. So if we are assuming that there are n channels, sorry, it doesn't take the delete, so we need to write it again. Bandwidth of the PCM system. So what we have to assume is that there are n channels. Each has bandwidth or can say band limited to FM frequency, which is to be, we are using time division multiplexed. I'll explain that part if you don't know about it. I was thinking, I assume that you know what is TDM. Let n be the length of the PCM code. What do you mean by the length is, suppose it's 0, 0, 1, and basically the length is 3. So basically if it's 0, 0, 1, then n is basically equals to 3. Okay, so depending upon that, the number of bits you have, basically you can have quantization level depending on that. So that quantization levels then you will have will be 2 raised to the power n, and let's say they are equals to m. Means we are assuming that we have m quantization level. And why they are m? Because we have n number of bits. And now as we know, the bandwidth of the PCM system depends upon the bit duration, or we can say bit time slot. So we can say that we have to calculate this part now depending upon the information which we have. So suppose the sampling frequency Yeah, I assume that you know I explained in the previous lecture also. What will be the sampling frequency for this? If the signal is band limited to FM, will be equals to twice of FM. Okay, or we can say then sampling period. I hope that you know that a period is equals to inverse of the frequency, will be equals to 1 divided by twice of FM. Okay, so as we know that there are n channels and n bits per sample, n bits per sample, you can see here n bits per sample, and we are, what we are doing is that we are using one bit separating each channel, or as a supervising signal, or can say we are using a synchronization bit. So the total number of bits, the total number of bits, the total number of bits then will be per total number of bits per sampling period will be equals to n into n plus n plus 1, or we can say it's equals to n plus 1 plus 1. Okay, so number of bits we are using for, there are n channels, and in every channels we are using number, or let me change the color of it so that I can focus more better way. So we have n channels, and in each channel we are sending the information with the help of basically n bits of, as for the code. So basically we have n into n number of bits here. Then we have one bit used for synchronization. So suppose there is a transmitter and receiver and we want to synchronize. So first of all, before sending the information, we need to synchronize them together so that they work together. Okay, and then we have the basically your n number of bits, which is for n channels. So then with the total information is equals to this. And now if we have to calculate the bit duration, will be equals to, so the bit duration will be equals to sampling period, that you need to remember, divided by total number of bits. So TB is the bit duration, then it will be equals to n plus 1 plus 1, because its sampling period is 1 divided by 2 FM, so it will come here and it will be in seconds. So basically TB is denoting your bit, this term is denoting your bit duration. Now if you have to understand it, it is, suppose let's say we assume that ones and zeros occur alternatively in a PCM system. So we can say that the bit stream in PCM is equivalent to a square wave of the pulse width TB. So we can say it's 101010. So it's high low high low high low. So we can say that it is basically having a pulse width of TB. So we can say that bandwidth of the system is inversely proportional to the time, which is the bit duration. So the bandwidth is equals to this. So we can say that, looking at the previous formula of this one, looking at this, that bandwidth is equals to n plus 1 plus 1 to FM hertz. So the bandwidth of the PCM system then will be equals to this. And if we assume that n is greater than 1, then we can say bandwidth is equals to, basically n is greater than 1, then this term will be cancel out. So the only term left will be this one. So it will be 2n n FM hertz will be your bandwidth. Okay. So in the next part we will do the